Welcome to the Sisterhood Effect, where friendship empowerment and connection come to life. I'm Danica.
And I'm Cynthia, and we're two friends on a mission to inspire women everywhere to find their way, embrace their power, and build meaningful circles of support.
This podcast is about celebrating the strength of women individually and together. We believe in the magic that happens when women come together, share their stories, and lift each other up.
Whether you're seeking clarity, confidence, or a community, you found a space where you can feel like you're not going through this journey alone.
So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and join us as we explore the beauty of female friendship, the power of vulnerability, and the journey to becoming your most authentic self.
This is the Sisterhood Effect, where women rise together.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, and we're going to be looking into human design and kind of like the intricacies of friendship with human design. Like, how can we amplify our friendships and also understand like where misunderstandings come from a human design standpoint? If you have never heard of human design before, this is a self-discovery system that blends like ancient wisdom and modern science to help people understand their unique energy better. And it really helps with decision-making strategies and life purpose. It was founded in 1987 by Ra Uru Hu after a mystical experience where he received the human design system. And it's an
A
integration of,
Canadian
oh, is
PS,
he?
if
Okay,
people
cool.
didn't know. Yeah.
Right on. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's a mix of like astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalistic tree of life, the chakra system, quantum physics, and genetics.
Hmm.
And there are five main types in human design, which is manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. And if you want like a more information on this, like there are tons of resources for
Hmm.
human design. We might actually talk about it a little bit more on this podcast at some other point because I'm also a little bit obsessed about it, but I am by no means an expert. So this is why it was awesome when I connected with Julie, who actually studies human design. And to introduce Julie, uh, read a little bit of her bio. Julie believes that life isn't meant to be figured out, it's meant to be felt. After years as an executive at L'Oréal and a startup CEO, she realized that success without alignment was draining her energy. And when she discovered human design, everything changed. It gave her permission she didn't know she needed to trust herself, her path, and what truly lights her up. And now, through her work at Julie by Design, which she has Instagram with all of this. So we can connect you guys at the end of the episodes and also within the show notes. She helps women move from confusion to clarity using human design as a tool for deep self-trust, purpose, and creating a life that feels as good as it looks. Yay.
Mm, mm.
Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. I love that you say my mom is going to be, if she hears this, so happy that you pronounce my name in her, like the right way,
I love
the
that.
French way.
Yes. Are you French, by the way? I didn't.
Well, I'm from Bathurst,
Okay.
and my family is like very French Acadian. It just happened that they put me in English school so that I could, know my way in the world. So yeah,
That's just so
but
funny because I'm
yeah.
also from Bathurst. I had no idea.
No, you're not. No
Yeah.
way. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I went to French school, but I
Okay, you went to
should have went
ESN.
to BHS. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I'm from
yeah.
Rough Waters.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
too funny. But Julie, I wanted to ask you a few questions
Yeah.
about human design and friendships. So
Mhm.
curious to know, why do women often feel misunderstood in friendships, and how does human design help bring clarity to those dynamics?
Mhm. Great question. I think that's one of the main reasons that we can feel misunderstood in friendships or really in any relationship is that we can often assume that other people experience relationships and experience the world and engage with the world the same way that we do. And that's, really rarely the case. And so human design can really be a great tool to, on the one hand, help us to, I like to say remember how we navigate the world and give us radical permission to be aligned with that versus, trying to do as others do. And through that radical permission, we can start to see, oh, okay, so if I'm like this, how does my sister, how does my friend, how does my partner, how do my children engage with the world? And it brings such a level of compassion, curiosity, and I think like a real desire to follow through on that curiosity and follow through on those learnings, because once we can experience what it's like for ourselves to really see ourselves, to give ourselves that permission to feel aligned and to communicate with that others and the power that that gives, then we therefore want to do it for others, which is just one of the reasons why I love human design.
Yeah, like I love how you touched on the power piece there. It's like to me, the like what I'm hearing from that, it's like it's helping you like better understand yourself, better understand others,
Mhm.
and then feel empowered in your friendships, right? To be able to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
so practical, I think, as a modality, human design. So, in that way, it is so empowering because it can give us not only the language, but very practical tools to apply to our own life and equip us to engage with our friends to say, hey, like, instead of this, what I really need is that. And then give us tools to be like, and I'd love to learn more about you and your energy type or your decision making or whatever it is. And so, like, learning about it together, like being on the apps or, doing readings together, all of that can deepen any relationship, and certainly sisterhood, which is the way that I got into it, actually, geeking out with a friend of mine. Then yeah, it can bring it to such a deeper, more intimate level because there's so much you can really be so seen and feel so much trust.
Mm. Yeah. That like feeling seen and trust, is there like a specific strategy that you take like for different designs when you're interacting like with a projector, or that you're interacting with a generator, or do you
Mhm.
have like different ideas of how we can better see and understand
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
designs as we go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yes, yes. So maybe what I can touch on is for each of the energy types. So, an energy type basically can give us insight into how you're designed to engage with the world at large, and that can present itself in so many ways. One of them, for sure, is relationships. That's a big one, and so it can really give us insights into what we're needing. It can give us insights into like stories that we might tell ourselves or realities in terms of how we feel misunderstood and what we could do, like to take first, like the self responsibility, to be aware of how others might be perceiving us if they're not, like us. And then also being friends with that energy type, what you can know and maybe, try to respect also, to really honor that design. So, and then hopefully that can answer your question. How does that feel?
So I have a question because
Yeah,
I am pretty new to
sure.
the world of human design, and I'm pretty sure like a lot of our listeners, like maybe some know, but some don't. So can you just give our listeners like a quick overview of like what the different types are
Yeah.
and maybe how like it's manifested in your life and how maybe you started out with it?
Like how your energy type came to be?
Oh no, like how like you came to human design and then
Oh,
also
sure.
like how that manifested like or like an example of like how you brought that into a friendship and how that like deepened it.
Mm. I don't even actually remember how it first came into my life, but I remember the moment in which I was like, whoa, this just doesn't go away. Like it's still around. I keep going into deeper and deeper rabbit holes. I just can't get enough because it feels so resonant. And every time I experiment with it, every time I learn something about myself and I put it into youth in my life, I see like impacts that are positive. And then I would find myself wanting to learn about, my husband, about my best friend, about my children. And anytime I would meet somebody, when it seems like you're kind of at that point, Danica, where it's like you just want to like share, you just want to know what they are, and then share your love and your passion for it, and see what ripples that have in their life. And when I was in the midst of that, which I obviously still am, but at the beginning phases, I was on a trip in Guatemala with my dear one of my dear sisters, and I brought it to her, and we started reading about her type, and then she was like, whoa, this is so resonant, I can't believe it. And then we started reading one another's, um and had started having so much more like a even other level of compassion for one another. I think relationships can really be tested when you're traveling. And so we started, laughing at each other about like, oh my gosh, no wonder we can't decide what to have to eat that day, because we're not approaching it with like knowing the authority of each one of us. So for example, in this example, we're both generating types. She's a manifesting generator, I'm a generator, and we're built to respond to things. So one of the toughest kinds of questions for a generating type is an open-ended question, like, what do you want to eat? Like that sounds kind of, but banal and no big deal, but it can be a big deal. And it's much more aligned for someone with the generator type to be given options, like, would you like burritos? Like, do you want to go out for seafood? To give them options so that their sacral has something to respond to. And so, it started with these like little jokey things, like, that we were noticing as we were traveling. And then it just started going deeper and deeper, where we could really help one another arrive at decisions. Like, feel into your sacral. Like, is this really like a yes or a no for you? And help us when it was just a no for the other. And how many times in your life do you just not honor your no because you feel guilty? You don't want to let somebody down. And so we could get like really clear about like, it's easy to say, it's not personal, it's not you, it's me. But like when you can really understand somebody's type and understand like how visceral a no is to a generating type, and like how difficult it can be to spend your energy on something that's a no, then we can just honor that so much more easily. And so it just took a lot of like stickiness out of the way
Mm.
in that friendship, which then, from there, we started leading women's circles together and doing retreats and doing all kinds of like really deep work together. And I really believe that human design was one of the things that helped us come to that place, that type of vulnerability.
Mm.
Yeah, I see this in my life as well, where, well, for me, the understanding human design gave me more permission to be like as I am. And I noticed
Hmm.
prior to, I was constantly comparing myself. And when I looked back at the people I was comparing myself to, it was often different energy types.
Yeah.
So like, have you kind of seen this within your journey through human design? And also like if there's any suggestions or advice that
Yeah.
you have for someone who might be like, you just figured out human design and then you're like, oh shit, like makes sense why I was comparing myself to these people that I could never be like, because my energy is just different from how their
Yeah.
energy works. And also, can I also have radical acceptance for the energy type that I am? Because being a manifesting generator, one of the first things that you hear is like the Manny Gen can be a little messy because you have this fire from the
Yeah.
manifestor and you also
Yeah.
have slow burn from the generator. And
Hmm.
that made, like, when I was putting out offers, and I also need to one wait to respond, but then I'm like constantly bombarded with all of these ideas and things that I want to bring to life.
Yeah.
And when I
Hmm.
was putting it out there, it could seem a little bit messy. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've had to grapple with. And
Yeah.
also, I think for manifestors and Manny Gens, we have a very big aura that can take up a
Hmm.
lot of space, and some people might not like us from the
Yeah.
moment they meet us. And so learning that I was a Manny Gen was in a way being like, yes, like this all makes sense for me. And I kind of don't like that I am this way. Like I would much rather be someone who is maybe more like clean, maybe more
Mm,
like a projector who is a natural guy. Like why aren't I a natural guy? You know what I mean? Like those kind of
yeah.
things can get in your head and you can start putting yourself in a box, which I don't think that human design is meant to be a
No,
box. More of a
no, not at all. Yeah.
curious to know what your thoughts are on all of this.
Yes, and I think, oh, I think it's a really, really important point because with any modality, sometimes if we go and um, towards it thinking that it's a judgment or a box, it's not of service. And so human design is really clear, or the man that you mentioned at the beginning who channeled human design was very clear in his transmission that human design is what he called an experiment. And so it's really meant to be something that is the utmost empowering insight so that you can start to bring into your conscious awareness different elements in terms of how your energy might work and experiment with them and find what resonates with you and works for you and what doesn't. And it is not meant to say that, only this type can, only projectors can guide. Not true. They might see things or guide their energy will work in a guiding way in a way that's aligned and natural for them. And I mean, I'm a generator, you're a manifesting generator. We guide people
Mhm.
all the time. It'll just look different. So, we're guiding um, more in motion than maybe a projector who will guide more with their insight. So it just looks different. And that's a really, really important point. Sometimes I'll learn about gates and channels and I'll be like, oh, I wish I had that channel. That sounds amazing,
Right?
And the truth is that we all have everything inside of us. Like, I mean, this is, getting a bit meta and, woo woo, but I mean, I think we're here for it. I mean, of course, we all have everything inside of us. We are all one. So that means that we have access to everything. I mean, we're literally created by the stars. So of course, if you want to be a guide, if somebody else wants to be multi-passionate and do have multiple projects like a manifesting generator, of course they can. If I want to access my intuition in a way that somebody, I don't know, with a splenic authority and certain, channels does, of course I can. But also at the same time, my soul came here with particular focuses, let's say. And so then that way that my design helps me have the energy to channel in that direction.
Mm.
And I have the opportunity with my free will to access, everything. And I would say the great thing about we're talking about sisterhood is that when we are in circle, for example, one of the reasons why it's so powerful is that we can draw on the energy of others. So if I am a projector and I don't have consistent access to life force energy when I'm around, my manifesting generator facilitator, amazing, because I can borrow some of that energy. I can, borrow the wisdom and insight. If I have, I don't know, I have very closed, I have a closed ajna, like a defined ajna and a defined head. And when I'm around somebody with an open head, it can really bring in like new perspectives and new ideas. And at the same time, I can help ground them. So we can really leverage one another and the way that we're designed to create new potentials, which is absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think yeah, again, like I'm so like definitely new to like,
Yeah,
like pretty much only heard about it like briefly. But yeah, so then I was just wondering if you could give a breakdown of like the different types just for our listeners
sure,
who don't
absolutely.
know
Yeah,
anything about human
yes.
design.
Okay, great. And do you know what type you are by any chance,
I'm a
Susie?
generator.
Okay, so let me start with generator then, and then you can tell me if it resonates with you or not, and we'll go into manifesting generator and the other types. And I'll start by saying for someone who's totally new to human design that as I talk about, so there are the five types that Danica mentioned, and the generator and manifesting generator, because we're staying, kind of high level in the discussion, everything I say about the generator will apply to the manifesting generator. But then the manifesting generator has its own twist. So if you're a manifesting generator, you can listen to what I'm saying about the generator, especially also if you have a generator friend in your life. And so you kind of get a bonus because you get to hear a little bit about two kinds. But the generator energy type in human design is defined by the fact that they have a defined sacral. And so what that means is that the sacral center, so there are various energy centers in the human design system, they have a defined sacral, which means they have consistent access to creation energy. And so they're really here to create, to build, to be aligned, to respond to life in ways that align to what satisfies them. And in so doing, they literally create and share sustainable life force creation energy. It's absolutely amazing. But generators might often feel in friendships or in relationships like this feeling of, why do I feel like I give more than I get? So that's one way that generators might often feel, or manifesting generators might often feel misunderstood in relationships. And why they might feel that way is because generators, they're designed to, and so therefore they love to give their energy. But if they're not careful, they might end up over giving, over pleasing, or saying yes out of obligation, instead of genuine excitement, instead of checking in with their sacral, instead of checking in with their authority, and understanding what's really a yes or a no for them. Because whatever is a yes for them, they will have sustainable energy to do. It's like the Energizer Bunny. It's like the good tired. Like I have so much energy, even though I'm doing a million things because I love what I'm doing and I could just keep going forever. But the minute they put their energy towards something that is a no for them, that brings them frustration versus satisfaction, they just won't have the energy, and there'll be a buildup of frustration and resentment. So they can get stuck in friendships that feel draining because they don't want to disappoint people. Not that there's anything that the friend is doing anything wrong, not that that friend's not a good friend or a good woman. Um, and um, and because their enthusiasm is so magnetic, so, let me know if this resonates, but I know it definitely does for me. Like, that when you're excited or lit up, that you can have this impact on other people. Like, that you can change the energy in a room. And so when you're not feeling it, you can feel bad, like, for pulling that away. You can, feel like, well, if I'm not on, like, what value am I here? Like, you can feel kind of bad for that. So if you are human design can help generator types is that it's really important to know to honor what excites you. Your energy is meant to be shared with people, but it's meant to be shared in ways that are a yes for you, and that make you feel satisfied. So don't feel guilty. Don't hang out with people or support people if you're not feeling it. It's not going to be good for you, and it's not going to be good for them. No one wants to hang out with a frustrated generator. So follow your joy, and you'll be like such an amazing friend. If you are the friend of a generator type, it can be really important to match their excitement. So if you're a generator or manifesting generator and you come to your friend, you're like, oh my God, we just started this podcast, or we just had this podcast with Julie and it was so much fun. And the person's like, oh yeah, cool. Like, that's like devastating to a generator type when people aren't matching, your excitement. Like, I have friends who have these, like, like pretty, like, they feel like traumatic events, of being younger, and like you want to put on a dance show and you make all the moves and you go over to your friend and you're like, let's do the show. I created this dance. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. And it's like, oh, like, it's devastating because where your energy is flowing, like, you just, you're created to, like, want to share that with people. So matching their enthusiasm, like saying, like, oh my gosh, yes, tell me more. Like, I can see you're excited about that. Like, I want to hear about that, is literally one of the, most loving things you can do in a friendship with a generator type. And the last thing I would say is really helping them to tune into their sacral response. So we talked a while ago about how it can be so supportive to generator type not to ask them open-ended questions like, what do you want to do this weekend? Like, where do you want to go on vacation? What do you want to eat tonight? But give them options to respond to. And if they're still not feeling it, they might not have, like, yet a strong connection with their sacral. So asking them yes or no questions, like, do you want sushi? Do you want to go to Costa Rica? And then helping them like learn how to tune into their body. And like maybe they just start by saying yes to everything so that they can feel like what it feels like when they said yes to something that's really a yes versus saying yes to
Mm,
something that's actually a no.
mm,
So that can be like a beautiful way to support a generator type. And we can go through that for each of the types if
yeah,
you'd like to. Does that
It,
resonate with you, Cynthia? And I know,
for
Danica, you're in
sure.
manifesting generators, so hopefully should for you too.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
especially when you talked about like the matching the excitement, like I've had so many times where I'm so excited about something and I bring it up to somebody, and then when I'm not matched with that
Mhm.
excitement back, I'm just like, the hell?
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it just brought me back to those moments. It's like if my friend understood a little bit better that bringing that excitement is just gonna make our friendship more fulfilling for the both of us,
Mhm.
then yeah, that would have maybe made things a little bit smoother along the way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm curious to know if you have a projector friend, how
Yes.
can you best be a friend to them? And
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Projectors. This was what the biggest learning for me. This was like, the moment where I was like, "Ugh," like I need like I could be supporting my projector friends and I could see all the ways in which I don't want to say I judged, but I definitely was looking through the lens of like thinking everybody operated like me and not getting it. So a projector, if you're a projector, you may at one point in your life felt like, why do I feel like I'm always giving advice, but I'm not seen? And it's important to know that projectors, they're designed so they don't have that. By the way, I'll just say that defined sacral. Okay, so they have an inconsistent access to energy. So their energy comes in ebbs and flows. What they always have access to is that they see things deeply and like so clearly. So there are certain things like certain niches, if you will, or certain specific areas that can be quite broad, where that projectors are designed to see so clearly and so deeply. And so it's for that reason that they're often natural guides, and they're built to share their wisdom and their insights with others. Um, and where it can get really sticky, though, is when they share that and when they're not invited to. And what I mean by that is like if they're wanting to share something they learned about that doesn't have anything specifically to do with you, that's fair game. But if I'm a projector and I want to, say to Cynthia and Danica something I see about you and your life so clearly, like it's so obvious to me if you just did this thing, or I'm seeing this pattern, or like I know the answer to your problem and it's about you and there's no invitation there, what could happen is that the other person won't receive it. It could fall flat. It could feel actually quite invasive, like you're being penetrated without, permission. And so for the projector themselves, that can really feel very draining. It can be like, again, like I'm giving advice, but like nobody's hearing me, nobody's seeing me, they're not recognizing me, they don't even want it, they're rejecting it, or they feels like they're not even hearing it. And they're probably not, maybe because they're not ready to, it's not their time. Um, they're just not open to it in that moment. And for the other person it can feel like, oh, like you're being like, it just, you're like, if you even pick up on it at all, it could feel a little bit invasive. And so that can get a little bit tricky with friends because you might assume that the invitation is always there. Like if we're friends, wouldn't you want, shouldn't the invitation just be implicitly there? And that can be true at times, but an invitation can kind of expire and it can also be dependent on the subject. So we might be more open to hear advice about our career than we are about our marriage, for example. So it's really important to, if you're a projector, to like you could ask, like, are you open? I see something, I'd love to share it with you. Are you open to that right now? And if you are friends with a projector, to either like tell them where you're comfortable receiving their wisdom and receiving their insight, what feels a little tricky, and you might want to check in with each other, or just very often recognizing them, because projectors, they need recognition. If you're a projector, I often hear projectors saying, like, I feel really like, I don't know, like it's ego, or I feel really kind of weird and selfish that sometimes I just like, I feel like I like it when people, recognize me and give me feedback and they say nice things, and it's super normal that you're designed for, you need that recognition. You need to know it's your energetic receiving of all of your wisdom. It's like your currency back to you. And so if you're friends with a projector, it's so important to say, I love hearing your perspective. Like, could you share it with me? I really appreciate like your wisdom. Like, you have so much depth. I really would love to know what you think about this. And you're going to get so much gold. And so it works both ways. The projector checking in to, and you'll, a projector will know. If you're a projector listening to this, I'm sure you can feel when there's an invite. If you're not sure, like maybe explicitly ask for it. But also on the other hand, if you're a projector, if you're a friend of a projector, draw it out, give them the invite. And importantly, if they're giving you that gold, give them the recognition. Tell your projector friend that how much you appreciate that.
Hmm. Yeah, I've definitely felt that in my friendships, and just like you, and I don't know if it was just like you, but I know that you said that this place that was a little bit stickier.
Mhm.
I found that as well for my projector friends, um and like learning what I did about projectors, I was like, oh, okay, so I just need to like invite them more and I need to recognize them more. So like those were the two main things that stood out for me for the
Yeah.
projector. And
Yeah.
it made a world of a difference. Like I was like,
Yes.
it's for some reason I had a lot of friction with projectors in my life,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand where it came from or why it happened. And it just
Hmm.
felt like it was not like nothing was changing. Like we were creating the same patterns over
Yes.
and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And the moment that I understood human design and understood projectors differently, then and I changed my behavior with them,
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
relationship started to change as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the thing that really like I feel that deeply, and that was like the first thing. And from there, the things that really helped in my relationships with projectors was like understanding their actual energy. So that part I said about how their sacral is undefined, and I'm like an energizer bunny. And so like understanding that they deeply need rest. They're not designed to move at the speed and at the same rate that I do. And like and like helping them in their deconditioning of that, because we live in a world that's like a generator world, mostly. Like even if you work like a 9 to 5 job, and who really does like a, whatever, a fuller time job, like if projectors, that's not their world. They're not designed to live that way. And it can be really hard for them to be in that deconditioning process of giving themselves the, like the feeling worthy of taking that rest, and feeling, worthy of that when they're rested, all those insights will help to move the world forward much more efficiently. And so like I really had to check myself to be like, where am I subtly judging them? Like where am I like being like, oh, come on, you don't want to go out, to this thing, it's gonna be fun. And also respecting that they love one-on-one time. So even though I like a big group of people, that's like not always what a projector is looking for. And so to make space for us to meet one-on-one more often was a big shift as well.
Yeah, and like just for the listeners as well, I believe that generators consist of like 70% population. Is that right? Around
Yeah,
that?
if you add generators and manifesting generators
Yes.
together, yeah. And then projectors would be 20%. So that's why we say like we live in a generator world, just
And then we
because,
have
yeah, by
also the
numbers.
manifestors and the reflectors who also don't necessarily have that defined sacral, right? Where the reflectors
Yeah.
can be like a
Yeah.
little different on that end. Would you like to?
Nothing is defined, yeah,
Right.
but in a reflector, yeah.
Mhm.
And then maybe I'll just the one thing just like intuitively came to me, so I'll just honor that, which is I think people can get confused like on the invite thing, because generators and manifesting generators need something to respond to. So generators love getting an invite, like, to go to something, like, so it's really, it can be hard. Like, I know a lot of generators, myself included, where we get into friendships and it's like, I feel like I'm the one initiating all the time. Like, why am I always the one, making the plans? And because we like to, we need things to respond to. So if you have a generating type friend, know that they would love it if you don't have to have like, this is what we're going to do, but give them something to respond to, and it'll often end up, they'll be like, no, I don't want to do that, but I do want to do this. They want that. That's a different kind of invite than a projector. You don't have, the projector doesn't need the invite to like go out Saturday night, but they need the invite to share their wisdom with you. And so that can get tricky because I've seen, like, I've, been in situations where I'm like doing all the invites, to the other types. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm always initiating. I don't like this. This isn't working for me. And that's not, we can get a little confused on the invite part. But yeah, is reflectors a place that you want to go
Yeah,
next?
let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So reflectors are the most
That's the
rare.
yeah, that's the type that I know the least about
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's so rare and it's a little tricky with
Mhm.
the moon phases.
Yeah. So reflectors are, like, when we say rare, it's like 1 to 2% of the population. So it's pretty rare. And they have all of their energy centers undefined. So so their name is like very aptly named, so they act like mirrors to us. I don't have a reflector friend, but I would love to have one
Girl,
because
I have some.
um
I can connect you.
okay. Yes, because I mean, like, a reflector can, like, they're a mirror for the environment, including you if you're in that environment. So reflectors, they absorb and reflect back the energy that's around them because everything is open in their design. So they may feel completely different depending on who they're with. Their environment is extremely important to them. So I would say, by, being a friend with a reflector, the single most important thing you could do is like check your own energy, because like you're bringing that to them in a big way, like literally. They're deeply sensitive to their environment. And so, like, sometimes, a friendship for a reflector that usually feels really good can then just feel off the next minute. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's anything to do with you, but it could be the environment you're in. So if you're like at a restaurant and there's some, vibes happening and the reflector's feeling that, to honor and respect, helping them like discern what's really happening, and being respectful if they need to leave an environment because it's really not feeling good to them, which is like a great thing because they will probably feel it before you do, or even if you do at all. So they're this, beautiful, like, yeah, a mirror and reflector of the environment. And because they're like absorbing so much, they really need time to process things. They need time to process their emotions. They need time to process their experiences. They need time to figure out what's theirs and what's not theirs. You talked about the moon. That means that reflectors often need a full lunar cycle before they can go through their entire decision making process, for example. So really honoring their need for time, honoring their need to be by themselves. Like, if you're traveling with a reflector, like, they're going to want their own bed, their own room if they can. But yeah, and it helping them, similar to helping the projectors and the deconditioning process of rest. It's like helping your reflector friend give themselves permission to take their time, because like that's not easy. It's not easy living in this world that we do and be like, can I get back to you in the next moon cycle about this? I mean, that's a bit radical.
Yeah.
So really
Mm.
supporting them through that. Honor their changing energy. Like, if they said they were excited about something last week and then this week they're not, like, not thinking they're flaky or,
Mhm.
like unreliable, but honoring that that's normal. And creating space for their own reflection, like what's been feeling really good to you lately, like helping them in that process of really getting clearer on what people and places are energetically supportive for them.
That's beautiful. And it's funny, like, that they are a reflection of us. The two reflectors that I have in my life, when I first met them, I thought they were Manny Gens. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know if
because
you
they
do
probably
that,
are
but
when they're with you.
right, that's
Yeah,
exactly. So like I thought that that was super funny. And I don't know if you do this too, but like I'll like guess people's human designs. I'll be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
I
wanna
do.
guess what you are. And then
Yeah.
it's weird how it works because that was one of the main components for me to be like, there has to be something with this human design. Like the fact that
Mm,
I can actually pick up on this energy and be like, I can feel that you're definitely a generator type. Or like,
okay.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then we look it up and you are, and it's like, that's interesting, you know? So yeah, I found that to be interesting. And then the last type is the manifestors. So
Manifestors. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
how can we love on our manifestor friends? Yeah.
Yeah. So manifestors were, I would say the thing that they probably feel the most misunderstood in is why do people try to control me? So
Mhm.
reflectors, I don't know if I mentioned that, but I mean, it would be like, why do I feel so different? Is probably, the thing that they're
Mhm.
feeling misunderstood about because they literally, are like their profile is so rare and it's so beautiful. But and so manifestors often will feel misunderstood in that they feel like they're being controlled. And why that is because manifestors are literally designed to initiate, to move fast, to be hyper independent, and to not need permission. They're the only energy type that is not here to respond to something. So, generating types, are designed to respond to the universe with their sacral. I mean, the universe meaning all things. Projectors, are here to get the invite. Reflectors need, people and environments to respond to. Manifestors are here to initiate and create without needing permission. And so sometimes in friendships that this can make them seem like unpredictable, distant, or even intimidating. If they're like starting something and you're like, you had no idea, and you're like, I didn't. I didn't even know you were doing that. Like, or where have you? So, like, manifestors can sometimes go MIA without realizing it, like, randomly disappearing from a group chat or just like not checking in for a while or not replying for a few days. And it's not, and so friends can sometimes feel like they did something wrong or like they're being
Mhm.
snubbed or like, not knowing what's going on. And it's not because they don't care, it's just because they need space. So, their energy type works in waves also. So what happens is they'll get like an urge to initiate, and when it's an aligned urge, like, because they'll also get a lot of ideas, so it can be hard for a manifestor to know like what's an urge to act on versus just an idea. And the way I like to say it is that an urge will be followed by a surge, so they'll get like a surge of energy, so the universe will give them the energy to see that thing through. And so if they're aligned, what they're doing is they're going for it when they have that burst of energy. And it means like putting everything else kind of aside and going forward with that. And the people in their life can then sometimes be like, where were you, and you just did this thing and I didn't know about it. And manifestors, because they're designed to have this independence and to have this big aura, they don't like to be micromanaged, they don't like to be told what to do, they don't want to ask permission, and they might even resist if you check in too much. So if you're like, they're in that period and you're the friend trying to be the good friend, you're like, hey, where are you, just want to like just like want to hear how you're doing, like just checking in. That could feel like, like just, leave me be. So I would say if you're a manifestor, I mean, the strategy for every energy type is really important. The strategy for the generators was to respond, for the projectors was to ask for permission, or not ask for permission, but wait for the invitation. And here it's to inform. So, and that one is actually mostly to do with relationships. So, a manifestor doesn't actually need like, you know, they can inform to help their relationships be more smooth and run well. But also, because I was about to say they don't need to inform, but actually I take that back, because by informing, they also help others to
Better
they
support.
help others to, yeah, to see like who's aligned with the vision of what they're creating, and if they can come in and support that. Because manifestors don't have that consistent energy and they're not designed to see the whole thing through. So if they have like an amazing Manny Gen friend who's like lit up by whatever it is that they're building or they're creating in the world, then they can come in and help to support them to see that thing through. But if you are friends, so informing is super important, both for your relationships and so that your, visions can be materialized in a way that's super supported. And if you're friends with a manifestor, I would say, support their independence, give them freedom, and they'll really feel safer when they come back. Because sometimes what can happen is then you've been gone and like you feel kind of like the manifestor can feel kind of unsafe to go back because it's like they don't want to have to apologize, like, what I mean, explain themselves and apologize and go through a big thing. So, instead of saying like, why didn't you check in more? You could be like, I love it when you reach out. It makes my day, or like, leave the energy open, if it feels good to you, and let them initiate. So let them take the lead. I mean, that would be, as a generating type, like that would be awesome. Like if, I'd be like, you lead, like you make the plans, like I'll tell you if it's a yes or a no. So like, letting them initiate, would also be like a really supportive, like honoring of the way that their energy naturally works.
Yes. And I have so many manifestor friends that like 100% on that. I had a friend who was like, oh, I asked her to go on a Zoom call, on a FaceTime call. And then when we did, she was like, I feel so bad because like I haven't reached out. And so I'm like, girl, I'm just happy to see you when I get to see you. And like, there's
Yeah.
no pressure for you to like keep tabs on me or anything like that.
Hmm.
Like when we see each other, it's great. We get to catch up. Amazing. Like I love that. So
Hmm.
to me, it feels like there's just more space to
Yes.
just
Mm.
allow them to do whatever they need to do. Another one was like, she would just decide to have a project, and then next thing you know, she's like building a whole deck outside and like all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to watch them go and create these awesome things. And like when they are informing, like I'm so there to support that as well.
Yeah. And I think it's like, we've talked about manifesting generators have like a bit of that, quality to them as well. We didn't talk specifically about the manifesting generator, but I would say that that's something to keep in mind. There can be that quality to the manifesting generator as well. Maybe not so much like needing the space as much in the same way of, as a manifester, but this quality of like sometimes where they can feel misunderstood is that their energy moves in many directions. And so, if your friend's the manifesting generator, it might feel like, this dynamic variety, like excited energy, like that they're changing mid-plan or they're like starting and stopping something. And if you're, a different type and you don't get that because you do things step by step and you master one thing at a time, you can, they might not understand it. They might feel like unsafe about like, are you going to commit to this thing? Like, I don't really like you're doing all these things that makes me feel uncomfortable. And just know that that's the way their energy works, and they're designed to do it until it doesn't feel good anymore. And they might not finish everything. They're probably not going to finish everything they do, but they're also going to finish way more than another energy type ever could, probably. So it's so beautiful, and to honor that, in them is super supportive for a manifesting generator as well.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, I think that this would be a great time to wrap it up because we kind of looked
Yeah.
up. We've looked at all of
I
these.
have an
I feel
open
like this.
throat, I should say, so
No,
it's like really hard to do
no,
anything in a
I feel like this
specific amount of
conversation
time.
could totally go on for hours and hours, and I
Mhm.
Yeah.
feel like we
Yeah.
need to keep that going and like just have
Yeah.
more conversations and different conversations on human
Mhm.
design because this is so fun.
Mm.
But Julie, how can we reach you if someone wants to work with you or something? And what do you offer? Please share.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Well, I offer one-on-one human design readings. So 60-minute readings where we'll go through, anything that is coming up for you at the moment, or, whether it's just a broad overview of your design. And you can find me on Instagram at julie.by.design. So it's Julie by Design, but that was taken, so I had to throw in some periods in there. Still waiting for the person to let me know if I can have that handle. Yeah, so that would be probably the best way. There's a link in bio there where you can book with me in Calendly, and also just see like the various events that we have going on.
Beautiful. And we'll link that in the show notes. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today in this conversation. And
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you,
yay.
Danica.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and your like wisdom on this subject.
Yeah, this is amazing. Listeners, if you enjoy this episode and you'd like to support us and see more, you can always like, share, comment on this episode and rate the show. And we will see you next time.